Blake Lively is about to get exposed in what might be one of the biggest revelations yet. Honestly, this is the moment I've been waiting for since day one. This document, the one that's finally coming to light, is what I've wanted to get my hands on all along. I've been dying to know what was in that contract she didn't sign, the one tied to her decision not to officially commit to the role of Lily Bloom It Ends With Us. For months, people have speculated about why she refused to include it, and now it's becoming clear that this missing contract may hold the answers we've all been looking for. When you file a lawsuit claiming employment discrimination, you're supposed to attach your employment agreement. It's the core proof that an employment relationship existed. Yet, Blake never did that. She left it out. Why? Why didn't she attach her actor's loan-out agreement when she sued? Why did she include the writer's documents after fact instead? Was she hiding something that would have weakened her claims? It feels almost certain now that something in her actual loan-out agreement didn't align with the story she's been presenting in court. Yesterday, I explained how the judge decided to unseal recording and a related declaration from someone who alleged that Justin Baldoni was verbally abusive on set. The interesting part is that because of how the court handles sealed filings, these documents weren't automatically available to the public. They were exchanged privately between the parties Wayfarer, Blake, and her team, all behind the scenes. That means it's up to them to officially place them on the public docket. So far, a day later, we still have no clue what's in that recording or who the declarant actually is. The court system recently changed its filing rules. Sealed documents are no longer listed publicly, even as placeholders. Eventually, they'll have to appear on the record, which means we'll see them, especially Blake's contract, sooner or later. And from the look of things, her employment agreement is about to get exposed in full. The judge has already requested letters from both sides explaining why these documents should remain sealed, specifically her employment contract and the CRD complaint. So far, Blake hasn't submitted a single letter defending the seal. Wayfarer, on the other hand, has moved ahead aggressively. As a filing party and a signatory to that same contract, Wayfarer has now written to the judge requesting permission to unseal entirely. This is huge. It's not a small procedural move, it's a deliberate signal that they want the truth out. When a company is trying to hide something, they don't push for transparency. They only do this when they're confident that what's inside supports their position. Let's talk about what's likely in that actor's agreement. A standard actor contract usually lays out several core sections: salary, bonuses, profit participation, perks, credit placement, and creative control. The base salary is a fixed sum per project, sometimes per episode, with bonuses tied to box office success. Some actors even negotiate back-end points, meaning they earn a percentage of profits or production credits. We already saw hints of this in those sealed emails the lawyers were discussing months ago, the ones that talk about the box office bonus and payout timing. Then there are the perks: first-class travel, private trailers, on-set glam teams, assistants, wardrobe allowances, and personal trainers. These are all designed to keep the actors satisfied and productive on set. Credit placement is another big deal, how her name appears in the title sequence. Does it say asterisk Blake Lively starring It Ends With Us? Or Blake Lively producer? That hierarchy in billing carries a lot of meaning in Hollywood, especially when disputes arise. Then there's the marketing obligation. Every major actor has a list of required appearances: interviews, red carpets, press junkets, and now, social media posts. How many Instagram stories or TikToks she was supposed to do could actually be spelled out in the contract. This detail alone could challenge the long-standing rumor that she refused press for creative or personal reasons. Publicly, the figure that's been floated for her salary is $3 million, but that number's never been confirmed. The unsealed contract might finally reveal the truth. More importantly, it will show whether she held creative control or producer status. If she did, that undermines her claim of being treated like a powerless employee. Creative control clauses are critical. Some contracts grant final script approval or casting approval, while others explicitly remove it. If she had approval rights over co-stars, directors, or even wardrobe and makeup choices, that means she was more than just an actor, she was a decision maker. And that kind of authority matters legally. According to Wayfarer's filings, they claim she did not have final cut approval, but we'll know soon enough whether that's true. The wardrobe and image clauses might also prove telling. If she had to pre-approve promotional photos or edit trailers, then she had direct creative involvement. If not, it would have been handled by production. Either way, the document will expose who really had power during filming. What makes this even more fascinating is that Blake wasn't just an actor, she had the title of executive producer. That means she wasn't simply reading lines. She was involved in shaping production decisions. Executive producers usually oversee budgets, coordinate with financiers, and manage key elements of pre-production and marketing. If her agreement required her participation in budgeting or approvals, it cements her authority. And if she had authority, it weakens her claim of being controlled by others on set. Now, let's talk about the morality and conduct clauses. These are the heart of most studio contracts. They allow the studio to terminate or penalize an actor for behavior that damages the project's reputation. These clauses cover things like public scandals, leaks of internal materials, or defamation of cast and crew. If her agreement included a non-disparagement clause, she engaged in leaks or indirect attacks through her publicist. Leslie Sloan, that could be catastrophic for her case. Think about it. If she was bound by an NDA and still authorized or encouraged leaks suggesting Justin Baldoni was abusive or the set was toxic, she might have breached confidentiality herself. In that scenario, her claims that she was mistreated or retaliated against could be undermined by her own actions. A typical morality clause reads something like this. The artist shall not engage in any act or become involved in any situation that brings the artist into public disrepute or reflects unfavorably upon the picture or producer. Another version adds that any statement impairing the commercial value of the picture may constitute grounds for termination. If she agreed to that and then publicly disparaged the film or its producers, it's a clear breach. Her conduct during the press tour became a major controversy. The way she allegedly distanced herself from the project and redirected attention toward her personal brand, especially her alcohol company, reportedly frustrated the production team. If Wayfarer documents examples of her undermining marketing efforts or spreading misleading information, that could validate their decision to pursue a defense built on her breach, not theirs. Next comes confidentiality and publicity restrictions. These are boilerplate in Hollywood, but incredibly powerful in court. They prohibit an actor from disclosing internal disputes, contracts, emails, or personal conflicts. They also prevent public commentary on co-workers' behavior. If Blake had such a clause and the leaks about set tensions came from her team, it means she violated that obligation. Even if her statements were technically true, if they harmed the film's commercial prospects or public image, they'd still count as disparaging under the typical legal language. That's how studios protect their investments. In my experience working with entertainment contracts, these NDAs are airtight. When I worked on a documentary deal with Netflix, I was bound by similar restrictions. No disparagement, no leaks, and no commentary until official release. These clauses are universal, and Blake, as a seasoned professional, would know that. Now, the termination and remedy section of her contract could be the final nail in this whole saga. Termination clauses outline how and when a studio can cut ties. Usually, an actor could be terminated for failing to perform services, skipping filming days, refusing press, or breaching confidentiality. Blake reportedly resisted doing press from the start, which might be one reason she hesitated to sign the final version of her agreement. If she had signed, it would have allowed the studio to enforce that clause and potentially fire her for refusal. Contracts like hers often contain clawback provisions, meaning if she's found to have breached terms or damaged the production's value, the studio could demand repayment of bonuses or even base pay. Imagine the implications if Wayfarer decides to pursue that. By moving to unseal, Wayfarer is sending a message. We're not the ones hiding anything. They seem confident the document will show she violated clauses tied to morality, confidentiality, or cooperation. That would support their case that her lawsuit stems from her own breaches, not mistreatment. There's another fascinating angle. The hierarchy on set. Blake's credit as PGA producer places her above the director in the professional chain. In Hollywood, the producer, especially one with a PGA certification, is effectively the boss of the director. The producer oversees production decisions, not the other way around. That means Blake wasn't subordinate at all. She was an equal or superior to the director. If that holds true, it shatters her claim of being a powerless employee. It reframes the entire dynamic. Instead of a star mistreated by higher-ups, it could be a producer mismanaging her own responsibilities. And that brings us to what could be the most damning section, the intersection of morality and confidentiality. If both are present, and if she breached them, Wayfarer can legitimately argue they acted within their rights to protect the film's integrity and reputation. They could say her public behavior, her leaks, her press tour distancing, her promotional redirection forced them into crisis management mode. From a legal standpoint, that turns the tables. If her emotional distress or reputational harm resulted from her own contractual breaches rather than the studio's conduct, it dramatically weakens her claims. In short, this unsealing could expose not just her pay and perks, but her power, her authority, and her responsibility. If those clauses show that she had producer-level control and willingly undermined the project, then Wayfarer's defense becomes nearly bulletproof. At this point, I'm dying to see that contract. The payment structure, the morality clause, the non-disparagement language, those three elements could completely alter the trajectory of this case. So, Ellen Garofalo, please upload that document to the public docket immediately so we can finally read it. I think Wayfarer's confidence says that all they wouldn't be asking to unseal unless they believed it proves their side. What do you think? Are you as curious as I am about what's inside that contract? Because something tells me, when it finally drops, the narrative around Blake Lively and it ends with us will never look the same again.